Hello Mila, hello Jack, hello everybody else who's watching, and welcome to Storytime with Grandad. Today's book is from Paddington Bear, and it is Paddington in Hot Water. One evening, Paddington announced he was going up to his room because he had some important postcards to write. After saying goodnight to everyone, he went into the kitchen and made himself some marmalade sandwiches, in case he became hungry. As soon as he arrived upstairs, he put the sandwiches away for safekeeping, then changed into his pyjamas before starting work on a postcard to his Aunt Lucy. First, he wrote the address. Aunt Lucy, Home for Retired Bears, Lima, Peru. Then he added the stamp. As usual, Paddington had a lot to tell his aunt, and he wanted to make sure there was plenty of room on the card. Aunt Lucy's postcard took much longer than he had bargained for, and by the time he'd finished, he felt ready for a sandwich. The trouble was, he couldn't remember where he had put them. He looked under the bed, he looked on top of the wardrobe, he looked in his dressing table drawers, and he looked behind the curtains. He even looked under his pillow, in case he'd hidden them there by mistake, but they were nowhere to be seen. In the end, Paddington went to bed hungry. In the past, he had often found that if you fell asleep with something on your mind, you dreamt about it. And sure enough, that night his dreams were full of marmalade. Everywhere he looked, there was marmalade. There were great orange mountains of it, rows of giant jars and golden chunks, piled so high he needed a ladder to climb over them. There was even a moment when he found himself wading through a crocodile-infested swamp up to his waist in marmalade. "Are you all right, dear?" asked Mrs. Brown when she went into his room the next morning. "I thought I heard you calling out during the night." "I was being chased by a crocodile," said Paddington. "It's left me feeling very sticky, so I think I may have a bath." "I do hope Paddington's all right," said Mrs. Brown when she arrived downstairs. "He's having a bath without being asked." "Well, I hope he wipes himself dry," said Mrs. Bird. "We shall never hear the last of it if he catches a cold with the shock." Meanwhile, Paddington was just climbing into the bath. Unfortunately, his mind was still so full of his dreams, he forgot to remove his pyjamas. It wasn't long before he discovered that taking pyjamas off when they are dry is one thing, but trying to do it in a bath full of hot, soapy water is quite another matter. The more he struggled, the harder it became, until there was more water on the floor than there was in the bath. Later that morning, Mrs. Brown happened to glance out of the dining room window. "Well, I never," she said. "Paddington's not only had a bath without being asked, but it looks as though he's done the week's washing as well. I wonder what's come over him." "If you ask me," said Mrs. Bird, "that bear's been up to something he'd rather we didn't know about. Perhaps," she added wisely, "it's best not to ask. We shall find out soon enough." Which was just as well for Paddington, because he was about to make another discovery. Worn out by all his labours, he climbed back into bed, and as he did so, his feet came up against something cold and sticky. Rolling back the bedclothes, he found where he had left his marmalade sandwich the night before. "Oh dear," he exclaimed to the world in general. "I think I may need another bath." Paddington gave a deep sigh as he hurried along the landing carrying his bedclothes. Sometimes getting up in the morning could take all day. The end. Goodbye, Mila. Goodbye, Jack. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.